Hello everyone, welcome to the CTV News on Calabash TV and on the Wave Radio 94.5. I am Melissa Joseph. Well, it's a case of just when you thought it was over, think again. The National Insurance Corporation, the NIC, prematurely announced to the public that striking workers had resumed duties, when in fact the protesting workers remained stationed outside the NIC building for an 8th day. The Castries branch was also joined by workers from Soufrière and Vieux-Fort. The management of the NIC announced an end to the industrial action by the employees following a meeting with the National Workers' Union, the NWU, at the office of the Labour Commissioner on Wednesday, 4th March. At that meeting, the two parties arrived at an amicable solution to the uniform grievances. Based on that fact, the NIC believed that the way had been cleared for the employees to return to post. But the NW says while they were able to negotiate for a $400 compensation across the board for employees, there are deep-seated issues at the NIC that need immediate redress. And the NW is looking to the Prime Minister to now step in. The union's Assistant Secretary General addressed the workers Thursday afternoon.
Coming out of the meeting yesterday in terms of how the director acted, we believe that the change has to start with him. He needs to change his approach and the way he approaches staff situations in dealing with people at NIC. Y'all are the people that bring in the bread, the butter, literally. His approach to y'all has to be more conciliatory, more humanistic moving forward, and we believe the change needs to start with him. What we want to do, we don't mind coming in Saturday, Sunday, holiday, whatever it is to complete the negotiations. We have always said we are ready, willing and able, because as you all know, we never reached any impasse.
That's right.
We just saw a letter going to the Labour Department and we had no knowledge of it. As far as we knew, we were almost there in terms of the wages. So based on that, we told them we are ready to go anytime, but we need these issues addressed. So what is going to happen is that we're going to appeal to the Prime Minister, because that is his portfolio, and ask for a meeting with him to discuss all of these issues coming out of NIC.
The NWU has requested that Deputy Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre and Commerce Minister Emma Hippolyte, who previously served as Director of the NIC, to be appointed alternates if Prime Minister Anthony is unable to chair the intervention. So with the agreement that all employees will receive a lump sum payment of $400 for compensation over the delay of uniforms, what is really keeping them out of office? The NWU's Assistant Secretary General spoke of deep-seated issues at the NIC. We attempted to find out exactly what is plaguing the institution.
There are a lot of other issues that need to be addressed and resolved in terms of the corporation, in terms of its working environment. The staff have been issuing grievances for a number of years now in terms of how they are treated, etc. moving forward.
Can you just give us an example of this treatment, the grievance that the NIC's workers are encountering?
Well, what I can tell you is we're not at liberty to list every single thing right now, because what we want to do is actually write the Prime Minister, since this is his portfolio, and try our best to get a meeting going with him to try and address these issues. If we're not able to get a meeting with him, we have requested his deputy, or Ms. Hippolyte, who was past director of NIC. But what we can say is that the workers are very anxious to get everything resolved and done. They believe that this has gone on long enough, and now is the time to actually, let's try to make it better for everybody involved. And that is the situation right now.
Because as you say, this is it's not a staff issue, it's now a public issue because the public is being affected. So I think some things need to be in the public domain as to why they're unable to provide the service.
Well, as it stands right now, as soon as the letter goes out to the Prime Minister, obviously that will be made public to everybody. So everything would be listed in that letter, and then we'll be able to move forward. Because at the end of the day, the staff really want this issue to be resolved. We want this issue to be resolved, but we need to go through the process to get it to that point in time. And that is what we're hopeful that they give it top priority in terms of getting a meeting going.
NIC is saying that the NW is being unreasonable in some of its requests, especially when it comes to the salaries and wages increase. So I think we're looking at something of $1,000. There's the transportation allowance will move from $750 to $1,000, and things of that sort. So,
well, what I can tell you in terms of that, these figures are not completely accurate in terms of the transportation, etc. The NIC have all of our proposals and counter proposals, and we have indicated time and time again nothing is set in stone. We are flexible on every single proposal that we hand in. It's a give and take, it's a negotiation. It wouldn't be a negotiation if it was one-sided. It just won't make sense. So we're very flexible in terms of moving forward. What is unfortunate is that we were at a point where we believe that there was no impasse, but unfortunately NIC thought so, and they decided to go ahead and act on that impulse without actually informing us. So that also too is an issue all by itself. But moving forward, we are always flexible, we are always open in terms of how we negotiate. Nothing is set in stone, because I think we better than anybody else understands the economic environment within which most companies operate. We've been negotiating with various institutions for the past 3 or 4 years since the crash, and I mean, we've been able to come up with reasonable employment conditions, benefits, etc. So it's nothing new within which we, it's not anything new that we're trying to negotiate on behalf of our members.
And according to the NW, the NIC has been hit by 10 various forms of protest action in the recent past, pointing to the need for an attitude adjustment in management. President General of the NW, Tyron Maynard, informed that the help had to be solicited from the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister to have the director of the NIC turn over information that was needed to arrive at a settlement on the uniform matter.
The other thing that we would want is a guarantee from Mr. Matre that he's going to change his attitudes, that he's going to deal with people differently. If we cannot get that guarantee, we will call for his removal. And if we're going to go in that direction, it means everybody must be on board. If you cannot work with people, people cannot work with you. So it ain't going to be no sin for us to call for his removal if he cannot change his ways and he cannot give us a guarantee that he's prepared to look at things differently and develop a more humane attitude towards everybody. Yesterday, when I brought up the question of Mrs. Gilbert, he jumped up and said, oh, well, no, that's not where we should deal with it. We can talk. We said Mrs. Gilbert's tires alone seem to have more value than the car. You understand? And that is the level that you have brought. That is the level you have brought down an inspector. We want to see an inspector taken seriously and her economic situation be addressed in a more serious fashion. The innocent boy that running from Viewfort to Soufre, we want all of these things spelled out. You understand? So y'all will get an opportunity to talk to Mr. Pierre, to talk to Ms. Hippolyte at a general meeting. If the Prime Minister doesn't want to come himself, he will have to send these two people. So that is going to be a condition for us going forward and sitting and making sure that we resolve the negotiations once and for all.
The NW has indicated that it is prepared to go the distance, however, is also eager to bring an end to the industrial standoff.
We cannot allow one man to consolidate power and become power drunk to such an extent that he can feel he can do whatever he wants with people. That must stop. I'm not going to send anybody inside there, today or tomorrow, and when you hear the shoutings break down in there, and then they will say it's Tyrone Maynard that sent all these people in there to sabotage things. We want to know when we decide to move in there, it must be a new day. It must be a new Mr. Matre. It must be a new condition. It must be a new environment. If we cannot establish that, they can forget it. So as long as we can get those conditions resolved, then we're going to walk in like one team, one environment, one set of conditions, the agreement settled, everything will be behind our backs, and we are going to move in. So that
The NW has demanded of the NIC another review of its recently implemented reclassification exercise with a request of a general 10% wage increase. The NIC says that of the 23 items put forward by the NW for renegotiation since October 23, 2013, much progress has been made by both sides. Outside of wages, items on which no agreement has been reached include an increase in car allowance from $750 to $1,000 and a 100% increase in mileage allowance from $1.50 to $3. In addition, the recent reclassification exercise saw increases in staff salaries, with some members getting in excess of 40%. The NIC wrote to the Labour Commissioner on February 18, 2015 for his department's intervention.